Hey everybody, Smitty here. Today is a benchmark day, so I just wanted to take some time today to go over once again that constructed response to make sure that you all get it right this week on your benchmark in UTP. Now, a lot of you did it right last week. Some of you are still having a little bit of trouble, but everybody did it almost right. So we're going to do an activity today that I think you're going to love, because if you're watching this video right now, you're actually going to be given the answer. So what we're going to do is you're going to watch this video today about the UTP Week 2 benchmark, and then you're going to go to UTP and complete the LAC 2 Week 2 benchmark armed with the answer to the constructed response. Now, why would I do that? That seems crazy, Smitty. I'm doing it because I want you to actually have the skills. I want you to demonstrate the skills with your fingers. I want you to actually type out exactly what a constructed response should look like, and then by practice and by example, it may become a little bit easier for you to apply these skills later on. So let's take a look at what I mean by that. So what we have here is the actual passage from today's benchmark, and it's called the best camping trip of his life. So let's take a look at what this says. David couldn't wait to get off from work, for he had an exciting weekend planned. He and his 7-year-old son, Landon, were going on a camping trip. As David drove toward the Greenville suburb where Landon lived with his mother, the guilt gnawed at him. He hated that since the divorce nearly a year ago, he had not spent the quality time with Landon that he now wished he had. The 2-hour drive to Landon's new home only complicated the wish for more frequent visits. David decided he was not going to dwell on the past, but instead look to the future. This weekend camping trip was just what they needed. When David arrived, Landon met him at the door grinning like someone who'd just won the lottery. An hour later, they were setting up camp. Before long, they headed to the creek bank with fishing poles in hand. As they sat on a 5-gallon bucket, few words were spoken, but David knew that old wounds were healing. As Landon reeled in a tiny brim, he looked over at his dad and said, "You know what, Dad? This is the most fun I've ever had." Even though his throat was tightening in an effort to hold back tears, David managed to say, "Me too, son, me too." So what did we get from that? We have David, who is a divorced father, trying to spend time with his 7-year-old son, Landon. And he's feeling like maybe he's let Landon down. Maybe Landon isn't happy about this divorce, and maybe David isn't able to give enough time to Landon to keep that relationship solid. And what do we find out from this? Well, we actually find out that Landon enjoys spending time with his dad, and that's the conclusion that we can draw from this passage. So the question to you is, which 2 sentences from the text best provide relevant and reasonable support for this conclusion? So we came to a conclusion. Landon enjoys spending time with his dad, and basically we're asking, how do you know that? What 2 sentences from the text best provide relevant and reasonable support for this conclusion? So let's think back for a second to our 9-sentence writing guide, our color-coded writing guide. Now today we're going to take it down a notch. We're actually only going to do 6 sentences. All right, and 6 sentences are okay as long as you're using textual support. So anywhere between 6 and 10 sentences is a fabulous response as long as it has all of the elements that the Keystone graders are looking for. So let's go ahead and take a look now at these sentences. First sentence, blue sentence, we answer the question. There are 2 clear sentences that provide relevant and reasonable support for this conclusion. It's just a restatement of the question. Which 2 sentences from the text best provide relevant and reasonable support for this conclusion? That's our question. We simply answer it. There are 2 clear sentences that provide relevant and reasonable support for this conclusion. Our next chunk, if you remember, is going to be our purple chunk. Our orange chunk. The sentence, when David arrived, Landon met him at the door grinning like someone who just won the lottery, tells us that Landon is grinning. There's our textual support. That's the actual sentence from the text that showed us that Landon is happy and enjoys spending time with his dad. Then we explain that sentence, that textual support. The grin is compared to someone who just won the lottery, and someone who just won the lottery would clearly be happy about it. Next, we get our green chunk, and our green chunk begins another piece of textual support and an explanation for it. We also find support in the conclusion in the sentence, "You know what, Dad, this is the most fun I've ever had." Landon is obviously having fun and takes the time to tell his dad that he is having fun. So there you go, our support from the text, our textual support, and our explanation of it. And finally, we close out all of our responses with a purple sentence that's closing out the response and telling the readers we're done writing. For these reasons, it is clear that Landon enjoys spending time with his dad. And that's it. That's a clear 6-sentence response with textual support, and it is the actual answer to this question. So if you use this recording as you complete your benchmark constructed response today, this is very similar to, if not exactly, what your response is going to look like. And it's okay to take this exact response. Again, I want you to get used to writing, and if that means that you're going to be doing exactly what I have here, that's okay with me. It's all about learning, everyone. So what now? Go to UTP and sign in, find today's LAC 2 Week 2 benchmark, and complete it today. You may sign out when you finish, and have a wonderful weekend.